See you there.
Yes, this is Jen McGowan. And while we're getting the technology hooked up, we'll just make sure you know it. Jen was here back in the very beginning when I got elected. And 2015, there was the extreme fire danger with the drought, Squamish Chief Rockfall, Squamish Dock Fire, oil spill, the Maripasa, all this kind of thing. And then we got going with this committee in May 11th, 2016. I became a chair of a committee, and 2016, Jen McGowan returned then. She was hired as a part-time emergency program coordinator. Long time ago. She's been away, she's back. Welcome back.
That sounds
Jen.
back in a new role.
That's right. Did I give you that time?
And now she's working for free. I think she did a lot of that back in the day.
Yeah, tons of it. So just introductions. Jen, I don't know if you've met John Saunders, Councillor John Saunders down the hill. Okay, good. And the rest of everybody, I think you know. Okay, good. And the people online, I think you all know Jen. Okay. I think I've lost, I can't see Alison Morse, but I can see her texting.
Yeah, she went on there.
And that was me.
She fell out. There, but that's her on the. There she is. That's her.
Oh, in the ocean.
She's in the ocean. View,
Okay.
the sunset view. That's
Yeah.
She's just not showing herself.
She's not showing herself.
Okay. Is she having?
There she is.
There she is. Okay.
I'm
She's
here. I'm here. I'm just trying to get my agenda notes to come up. And they're not doing
Okay.
it.
I think she's talking about an app. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm just going to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we're here on the territory of the Squamish Nation, who've been stewards of this area for millennia. And I'm really grateful that we've got some work set up with them to build relationships later on in the agenda. That's great. I'm Sue Ellen Fast. I'm vice chair of this committee, so I'm filling in until we have our elections in a few minutes. And looking at the agenda, does anybody have any additions or changes to the agenda?
There was an information item regarding the gas station generator, and it was brought to my attention, there was a response to that letter to council, so this has been added as a late item.
Oh, okay. So you've got Tessa's response.
Yeah.
Great.
I'd like, Sue Ellen, I'd like to give about a 90-minute or 90-second
90
overview of the status of NERP right now, when it's appropriate.
So can that be during 5.3 edge then?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you. 90 minutes it is. Or shorter. Okay. So with that clarification then, Ed, we'll move on to the adoption of the minutes for those who were here last time. Any problems with the minutes? I had a quick look at them. I didn't see anything. Okay. Then can I have a motion?
I can't get into my agenda.
Okay.
So
Do you want me to resend you the
no,
PDF?
you sent out one that was linked. I had notes in the agenda notes, so I'll just use that.
Move to adopt minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Jen. I take Jen. Okay, so we have a mover and seconder. Any objection to just adopting them by consent? Seeing no objection, they're adopted by consent. Okay, public comments? Anybody with us? No?
No public.
Okay, so we're going to move on to election of chair and vice chair. The Emergency Program Executive Committee is what this body is, and we elect a chair and vice chair annually, I believe. And I believe we've got a nomination for chair.
We did.
And who is nominating who?
I would nominate Jen.
Jen.
I'll second that.
Let's ask her if she accepts the nominations.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. And then I have to do 3 calls to see if anybody else wants to stand as chair, in which case we would have an election. So second call for nominations for the chair. Hearing none. Third call for nominations for the chair. Hearing none. Jen McGowan is acclaimed as chair of the committee. And how about vice chair? I'm willing to sit again as vice chair if people would like.
Someone nominate the vice chair, please.
I will
I'll nominate.
Councillor Sue Ellen Fast as the vice chair.
Okay, thank you. John and Ed has seconded. Do I need to do the 3 calls? Anybody want to compete with me for the vice chair of the Emergency Program Executive Committee? Third call for nominations for the vice chair. Hearing none, I declare myself acclaimed. Okay, thank you. And I'm going to turn over the chair to our new chair. Jen, you want to come up and join?
I'm good to do
You're
it.
gonna
Hear this. That's
Oh, this way you can see the screen.
sure. I'm
You've got it up.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, you can see it. Carry on.
Before I 5 minutes.
Okay, so the emergency program update. So the spreadsheet is there, and I'm just going to kind of go over some highlights. Does everybody have the spreadsheet on their agenda? So just a little refresher, along the first row or first column is the things like G9 or R3 that just kind of indicates which row I'm talking about. So G12 and G13 is the ESS and the EOC grants. Both have had revisions. Those are the 2024s. Both have had revisions. The EOC spending is complete, and I'll work on that final report when I've submitted the new grant application. And ESS we're still working on. G14 is about the paddle project. So this is funded through EMCR Indigenous Engagement Requirement Funding that all communities were given $40,000, and then we are requesting the second year funding as well. And the paddle project will be in both years. We'll take up some of both years. I'm pretty excited about it. It's a really great way to have a more connection to our elders with the Squamish Nation. So they will all involve lunch with the elders and some truth telling and storytelling, as well as carving and painting paddles. Each workshop includes EOC staff, ESS volunteers, Squamish Nation Emergency Management. The Tsleil-Waututh EPC will be coming over for one of the events. One of the dates, mayor and council members have been invited, and the fire chiefs will be there, and representation from MERPs will be there as well. So it's encompassing all areas of the emergency program, and it'll be pretty exciting.
For those of us who haven't got our dates sent in to you, we should indicate that.
Yeah, yeah. Please, that would be appreciated. G16 is the Fire Smart grant. So when we presented in October about the Fire Smart grant, it was for 1 year, $150,000 for 1 year. And as we were preparing that and working with the consultant, working through that application, one of the things he suggested was increasing it to the full 2 years, as it may be more desirable for an employee, for a contract employee to know that they have 2 years of employment. That was one of the keys, and that's for us. The keys of this grant application is that we are hiring a staff member for the 2-year contract to look after the Fire Smart program. G17 and 18 is the new 2025 ESS and EOC grant applications. The ESS grant has been submitted, and I've just started working on the EOC grant. ESS is doing a lot of training, and the largest component for the EOC grant will be a functional exercise. Our 3 training and exercise, we did have the tabletop exercise back in October. It was based on the atmospheric river event, and representatives from EOC staff, RCMP, BC Emergency Health Services, Climate Marine, Bowen Community Health Center, Bowen Schools, Fire, ESS, and NERPS were all represented in part of the discussion. And in addition, most of the EOC staff have now had an EOC setup orientation. And this session walks them through being the first person into the EOC, and it's been a really useful session. People appreciate knowing all of everything that's available in the EOC and how to use it and set it up. So I did attend a exercise out in Mission, and in that one I was able to take part in the exercise. Usually when I go to exercises in other communities, I learn a lot, but I'm an observer. And in this one, I spent my whole day doing state of local emergencies and evacuation orders. So that was really, really useful. The AED program, P3, Community AED program. One of the AEDs in the program has failed. So what we've decided to do is work on a program where we are going to buy a new AED for one of the fire trucks, and one of the that one will move into the public AED system. There's not a lot of budget in that budget line. So in 2026, we may have to look at increasing that a little bit to make sure that we can replace them as necessary, because they are all 8 to 10 years old now. Key 12, emergency management team. So I'm starting this month, and I'll be starting to plan a meeting for February, for end of March or into April. It's kind of rather than the old just change from what the emergency management team was in past years. And this will just kind of be a forum where people will be invited to once or twice a year, and just making those connections with other outside agencies. So that's, I'll hold on first. Okay, sure, either or. And M2, Emergency Preparedness Week. So that's going to be kind of combined once we have the Fire Smart coordinator. Part of their job will be having something on Wildfire Preparedness Day, which is the day before Emergency Preparedness Week kicks off. So I think we'll just do a joint event of some sort, and it'll be kind of speaker focused, workshops, speaker, that kind of thing. And that's about it. Does anybody have any questions on the update?
Thank you. Yes, questions for the coordinator? I've got a couple. Okay, you want me to start?
Sure, go ahead. So.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair. Sorry, through the chair. I had a question about the AEDs.
Mm-hmm.
How often are they used? I imagine the ones on the fire trucks are used, and maybe people can. Do you have any information on who would know?
I think one of the AEDs in one of the Rotary, the original Rotary program, I think one has been used once.
Yeah, the ones on the fire trucks are used more often, obviously.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Once. Okay. Thank you. And somewhere in there was something about printed materials, and they hadn't done that yet. Printed materials. Yeah. Sorry. Below the AEDs, I didn't know how to. Anyway, I was just going to say, when it comes to printed materials, what I'm finding is when I have a stack of printed materials on a desk, people come by and they take photos of it with their phone and they never pick them up.
Okay, public communications,
Yeah.
Emergency programs, social media posts are going up fairly regularly. Printed materials have not been created. Planned cost services. So the printed materials, if we go back to the October 24th, one that I wanted to work on 2 things. One is a new evacuation guide that's just like a trifold. To replace what we have now, which is the evacuation tips. So that's in the plan to be redone and replaced. And so it's like a trifold brochure that could be in the racks, et cetera, and people could put them on their fridge, et cetera.
Right.
And the other one is a heat emergency related information. So those were the two trifold brochures that were going to be mailed out.
Okay,
And
mail
so it
out.
would be one each year.
Very good. Okay, thanks. That kind of thing, I think it really is worth
Mhm.
laying them out. So you live with your phone book or
Yeah.
on your fridge, like you say. Over to you, Chair. Sorry, I see hands up. Go ahead.
Thanks. Through the chair, I'm just curious, for people that are assigned to the EOC, what level of ICS training have you been able to get for people and what's the
So-
plan?
Yeah, ICS,
Can you tell me what that is?
Incident analysis.
Thank you.
so it is, our emergency program, emergency management plan does include that all all EOC staff includes ICS training. And I don't, my records from previous Arlo's body, but I don't think a lot of our EOC staff have that. This year, the Fire Smart grant includes cross-training, EOC staff and public works staff to have ICS training. So over the next couple of years, the next 2 years, training, we hope to have everyone in the EOC and in public works with the ICS training.
Thanks, thanks.
So to level 100.
Level 100.
Level 100.
Yeah, only level 100.
Would there be anybody that's, like potential incident commander or anybody like that that's getting a higher level?
The 200?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm, the fire chiefs all do that. And I will work with public works especially to get further training on that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Tess?
I've got one.
Go ahead.
It's Allison. I'm looking at the list. Oh, damn it, I've lost it again. P12. You're saying, looking at moving from a committee to an annual or semi-annual form. And then the next line says, creation of a committee will be required for revision of plans as required by EDMA. So there seems to be a contradiction there.
So that would be a subcommittee or group. Once we start making the required changes to the bylaw and the emergency plan and HRVA, all of those will require some input. So my hope is to get a committee out of that forum that will help work on those things.
Okay, so you should probably use the word subcommittee then?
Subcommittee, yes, it should be, so I'll change that.
Yeah, because I guess, but you're not talking about, this is the emergency management team meeting, so different from us.
It's different from you. Yes.
Okay,
It's
so,
under-
okay, so it doesn't matter then, because the subcommittee would be, if you're talking about some of the things Edna is requiring, we would end up with a subcommittee of this committee.
No,
I'm thinking of
Can I
the
ask?
yeah,
group.
Allison, do you remember when we used to have this committee and then we had the emergency management committee, which was a committee structure and it had the BC ambulance and the ferries and the police and everyone come in. So it's the same idea of getting all those stakeholders in without that sort of onerous bureaucratic structure associated with it. Like a
Okay.
team meeting. Getting
All
all
right.
the stakeholders.
Okay,
Any other questions from anyone? Counselor?
I have a question about the misting stations.
Mhm.
I know you had this come up at council and the idea was for a few of them down in the cove. I'm wondering if the idea of having one like out halfway along the multi-use pathway might be an idea. Because it's pretty exposed, but near Grafton Lake or the old fire hall or somewhere.
yeah,
I'm not sure how, maybe you could tell me a little bit about how valuable misting stations are and why their location would be significant.
anywhere they go that we have to have a water system, we have to have a water system that we can tap into. But yeah, we're looking for places where people are outdoors, they're doing outdoor activities, and of course, we all know climate change has been making our summers a lot hotter. So that's where those misting stations come in.
Do you have a way in which you're determining how the location is set? Do you have a formula for choosing the location?
No, only the criteria, of course, was water. I was looking for municipal places that they could be set up. So the 4 locations, and then one was working on a partnership. So the 4 locations that I've looked at, 2 for kind of a permanent installation would be outside the community center, so that people either using the fields or whatever else could access it. People that aren't actually coming into the community center where it would be.
Sure, yeah, I see the logic. Yeah.
Yeah. The other one is at the Blue Cottage.
Okay.
Because of course, again, you've got people coming back from their hikes. And then one at the fire hall, one that would be a more temporary one. That's one that would go up at the beginning of summer and then come down. And the 4th location would be somewhere in Crippen Park. And so I'd be working with Crippen Park in order to get that happen. And again, that would be another temporary one. It's just kind of put up with some boards up against anywhere that you can access water, really.
Tess? It says requested in the 2025 budget. What is the budget request for this?
I think it was 17,000.
Total?
Yeah, for
Okay,
4.
thank you.
So, and did that answer your question?
Just that, having the 4 of them down in the cove, I just thought I would put it out there that having a multi-use pathway with an active transportation plan and an expectation that more people are going to be cycling and walking and using the path with their mobility vehicles and all that kind of thing, that we might want to think about multi-use path spots.
So Tess can explore that, I'm assuming, and maybe it's something that's part of phase 2 if it's not possible now.
I just wanted to bring it up at the time for
Can maybe can't recall exactly how you direct your work, but can you report back to the committee on the feasibility of putting one along the multi-use path?
Yeah.
Okay,
We should.
does that satisfy that?
Yeah.
There were other questions on the line? Oh, yeah, please go ahead.
Are we looking to add an extra misting station or take one away from, like, reallocate one of the 4 options here?
It
Is
sounds
that,
like I think that'll be part of Tess's recommendation.
Yeah.
yeah, I think we should be looking at the mix of the 4 that we are going for, instead of maybe have 5.
Instead of having 5, yeah. So I'll look at both of that and explore just moving perhaps the fire hall one out to a different location.
That makes sense to me.
We've had some people, like, they're walking along that path from the trails. And they do, in the summer, they get quite hot walking along there, and we've had people actually stop by the fire hall and
it just
Ask
seems
for water.
ask for water, ask is there a way they can get off of that trail and get into the woods because they're just overheated.
it just seems that with one at the community center and one down the Blue Cottage and a sign or something and might be useful there. And I just assume that there's a water hookup at the old fire hall, but I guess that's not ours to think about right now. So I'm not sure whether that would be, but I was just thinking as the next section of the multi-use path goes in with water pipes theoretically underneath it. It might be something to think of now. That's all. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Any other questions from anyone for Tess? Please go ahead.
This is kind of a big one just here in the news over the past few days and about Starlinks. I saw that Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, is cancelling all the contracts with Starlink. And I'm wondering whether this committee should have any discussion or whether there's any input that we could help with? I doubt it, but just concerned about disruption and procurement and where have those Starlinks arrived, or what kind of other disruptions are on your radar, or should there be
I'll
anything?
take that one on. I think there's a wider Team Canada approach to how we respond to these tariffs. I think the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is going to provide some direction and best practices on how to move forward. I think as the Premier indicated yesterday, if something is to be done, it's to be comprehensive and rather than each municipality approaching it on their own and trying to come up with their own methods, probably best to see what the coordinated response looks like before we take any big actions.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't suggesting we take any action. I was more suggesting, are there things we should watch out for, or
Do we
will,
use
our
Starlink?
emergency program?
Do we use Starlink?
We have two Starlink systems, one at the primary fire hall and one that is connected, and one is at the fire hall 2 that is a grab and go kit.
Thanks. Well, let's just stay tuned. I mean, I didn't want it to be a huge topic. I was just,
No, I think what we can do though is in the background, look at alternatives. Starlink, I don't think that takes a lot of time, and I think that's something we can do without making any big decisions. We can like the same approach we're doing on misting stations. We just take the information and look at options and see what else is out there. And it might, we might come back and realize that, really there's no option at this point, and this is what makes sense, as stuff as it is, given the climate, but we can definitely give it a look into that.
great, because the only other one I can, off the top of my head, is Alertable that we rely on. I'm pretty sure, isn't that US-based software? Anyway, they're just having a funny time down there, and I'm seeing weird news reports about changes to access to software and things disappearing from websites and stuff. So I'm just flagging that.
I believe Alertable is a Canadian company, and I know that all our data is stored in Canada.
Oh, good. Yeah, I remember we looked at that way back in the day. Good.
I wasn't sure. I was fairly certain because the whole Alertable map is Canada. So I assumed it was Canadian, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not just a subsidiary of a US company or something. But
A lot of the software and communications tools we use go through what's called a privacy impact assessment, and part of that is to look at where the data is stored and how it's used. So
Good. Okay. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Quick question. Just going back to the misting stations, it just, I feel like I need to catch up on this. It looks like these are the misting stations are primarily for the benefit of visitors. Is that correct?
we're members of the public.
But you're talking about when you're talking about people coming along the trail who don't know to get into the woods and stuff, that sounds like that's specifically for visitors. And I think you do have to, members of the public, but if this is something that's primarily for the benefit of visitors and tourists, then maybe this should be on a tourist budget. It seems like I'm wondering how many, what the actual urgency is or the requirements are for residents in terms of the misting stations. Is it something they need to be paying for?
Can you tell us how that's funded, Tess? How are the misting stations
The
funded?
misting stations are a request on the municipal budget.
Are they something we could get a grant for?
No grants that I know of, but I could look for further grants.
For my information, in line with Gail's question, can you tell us about how, and I apologize for not having the background, how were these, how was this issue raised? Was it raised by the public? Why did it end up on our agenda?
it was just something that, about over a year ago. Yeah, this summer. Not last summer. It was the summer before that it came up, in conversations with members of the public.
So the
And
request is the EPC
yeah, so I started looking into it
sort
further.
of initiative.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay,
So
I'm just seeing like, like, it sounds like these are all being placed within 100 or a couple hundred yards of air-conditioned buildings, and it just seems odd to me. So I'm just wondering if it maybe whether the necessity of them needs to be revisited in
Yeah.
terms of being budgetarily
Yeah.
fiscally
And my-
responsible.
I would agree with Gail. Would it make more sense that when people come off the ferry, there's a list? If you're going hiking, make sure you've got the right shoes. You're not going in terrain that's dangerous, and you have enough water. I mean,
Yeah.
this seems to be a little bit.
Yeah, I think lack of the expression being lack of planning on your part.
Yes.
And we all know the last half of that. I
Yes.
do think we have to stop trying to bubble wrap the world
Yes.
for people who refuse to take responsibility. Sorry, that's harsh, but at some point the pendulum
Okay.
needs to swing back.
That's my feeling exactly. How many misting stations are there around Stanley Park on the water walk, the boardwalk, or the
Seawalk.
seawalk?
Okay, I'm gonna, I take both of your point. I really appreciate it being raised. Is there anyone else on the line or in the room that has a comment on these misting stations? Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
only to say that the points that were just raised are going to be discussed.
At council.
Guarantee it at council
Okay.
when we get to that, so.
As a committee, do we want to remove this, from Tessa's work list? How, if that's a decision that we can make before this gets to council, do we
I
feel
would
that
say yes.
strongly about it? Okay, so, Brent, go ahead,
Well,
please.
The work didn't necessarily result from this committee.
Mhm.
The work resulted from a motion that was passed in council. that
Okay.
Staff look into this.
Okay,
So
so it'll go back to us.
so that's what initiated their response to this issue. Is a discussion that was had in council and not
And council hasn't requested this committee's recommendation on this topic.
I don't believe so.
Okay,
It's more
However-
of a for information type, right?
okay.
And where that came from is a resident had written it
Right.
as correspondence, and it was pulled out of the consent agenda and turned into an action for staff to follow up on.
Go ahead.
If this committee wanted to, they could make a recommendation to council one way or another. But we don't need to. Three of us are on the council.
Mhm.
I'm thinking $17,000. We could probably find something a little more urgent for that money.
I would agree. Something that's more beneficial to the people who are essentially providing that money through taxes. So I would move that we make a recommendation to council to table the whole misting, however that you want to describe that. I move that we make this committee makes a recommendation to council to table the misting stations.
I would second that if you make that motion.
I'll just let Karen speak. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think this knows affecting, the last thing I said about the consent agenda, that applies to the gas station item.
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah, so that has, on the misting station, I don't think this is perhaps the forum for that. I think council will deliberate. There are members of council here in audience today who will take this feedback, 3 members, and if other members of the committee feel adamant about it, they can, the budget deliberations are open meetings. They could provide correspondence after the fact.
So who's this speaking right now? All we get up is council chambers. We're not getting a specific person.
Kern, the CAO, is the one that just made that comment. I'm just gonna let Steph speak go ahead.
And is there a reason that you think it's quite common for committees to send their recommendations to council? Is there something that I'm missing? They wouldn't be able to do that?
I think it should be done as part of the budget deliberation.
And we do have a motion on the table, so
Yeah.
if she's made the motion, do we not have to
Yeah.
Yeah,
discuss that and
Um,
decide? Only
I've got a
decide.
question.
Okay, it was seconded by Ed. Yeah, go ahead, Allison.
Thanks, Jen. Kern, you mentioned a letter and a consent agenda that started this whole thing?
No, sorry, I misspoke on that. That had to do with the gas station generator discussion. So my apologies for that.
Okay, good. I was racking my memory and trying to remember. So
Yeah, no, it had-
this entirely came up from EOC staff then? The misting stations idea?
I'm seeing some nods.
Tess
Okay.
said that a member of the public raised it with her. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so from a parliamentary procedure process, we have a motion on the floor, so somebody's either gotta say that defer it or we vote on it.
Go ahead, Sal.
I'd like to move an amendment.
Okay.
And the amendment would be to, at the end where it says to table, I would say to defer to a future year.
Recommend that council defer. Can you read it out?
Recommend that council direct staff to defer the misting stations initiative.
Yeah.
To a future year.
That gives us time to explore it a bit more and, but it doesn't, well, it doesn't take it right off the table. It leaves it open for more information to come forward or more thinking and more input from other staff.
Gail, are you satisfied with that amendment? Can we make a vote?
I
on
guess
this?
so. I guess just the question of, I believe the amount was mentioned was $17,000. So what happens? Does that go back into the budget? Or is that just?
Well, we
held?
haven't
How is
approved
that?
the budget, so it would
Okay,
just be
okay,
removed.
all right, well, let's-
and
yeah,
so
then
the
I-
tax increase might go down.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Sorry.
I'm fine with that amendment.
John, go ahead.
I'm not fine with the amendment. I can speak, yes. I think we spent a whole lot of air on this discussion already, frankly, but I don't see the need. If we want to raise it in the future, we can raise it in the future. We don't even need to discuss it any further in terms of motions and secondary or amendments and things like that. I'm satisfied with the initial motion, so I wouldn't be supporting the amendment, but.
That's
Can I
fine,
ask you
because I
to-
haven't heard a seconder for my amendment, so I withdraw.
Okay. We're gonna vote
Can
on
somebody
this,
read
but
out the
we-
original motion, please?
Okay, I'm not using the word table, that council direct staff to remove the misting stations initiative from the workflow of the emergency program.
And that's been moved and seconded.
So that was moved by Gail, seconded by Edward. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And that
Aye.
goes just sent straight to the budget process.
And opposed, sorry? Who was opposed? So it was unanimous? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Were there any more questions for Tess on her update? I have one, sorry to jump in. Again, I don't understand the background, so just looking for a bit of history. The AEDs were previously funded by Rotary. The initial cost was funded by that organization. When and at what point did the municipality take on that cost? Was that by resolution? Is it of this committee?
Council took on all of them, and I can't remember which year that was. I would have to think.
Council took on responsibility for paying for the new devices. Was that by
As far
resolution?
as I know,
And maintaining.
and maintaining. to
I
my-
know
to my
maintaining
knowledge.
was always part of the agreement, but the purchase of new devices, I'm curious as to when that took place.
I-
And under whose direction we took that on.
I'm racking my brain and trying to remember.
Okay, Allison, I think I'll just leave it with Tess to
Yeah,
report back to the committee
yeah.
on that. Is that okay? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Steph.
That's okay. I just wanted to do, to be clear on what the actions were from this section. So I've got Tess reporting back to the committee on misting stations. That's moot now.
Yeah.
I'm looking into Starlink,
Alternatives.
is that,
Canadian
or was that
alternatives.
you or Tess? Looking into Starlink alternatives? Is that you?
No,
Are
I don't remember who mentioned that. As
Okay,
far
I
as
think we
alternate.
could look at it if they're interested in.
Okay.
That would be
You both together?
She's thinking.
Sure.
Who to put down as
I just need to know
responsible.
what to put down. Yeah, thanks.
I would put Karen down then. As the,
Okay, it's okay.
because that was.
It wasn't the motioner. It was about who's responsible for following up.
Oh, I'll follow up on looking into seeing if there's a Canadian alternative to start.
Okay. And then we've got the reporting back about how we ended up paying for the AEDs as tests. Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else on item 5.1?
It's a fun.
Let's move on. Fire Smart update from Chief Bannon and Tess.
All right, I think Tess already gave an update really on the 2025 Fire Smart initiatives that we're doing. The 2024 Fire Smart is now complete and the final report has been submitted. Yeah, really, I think that's our only update at this time. The previous update for 2025 was already done, so we're good there.
I updated that in grants.
Question?
Go ahead, Allison.
The final reports, are they all stored somewhere where we could actually look at them or see what goes into Fire Smart? Where do they get filed with the province? Or the granting where the grants came from?
Yeah, they get submitted to UBCM for the.
So they're going to the granting agency, so, okay, all right. It just might be, you've got them all filed somewhere where, I mean, they're a public document, or are they?
No, I don't think they've ever been public before. I don't think they've ever been public before, but I can look into that.
Well, and if you're just asking to see the report, Allison, could we ask that the final report is just shared with this committee, with the members of the committee? Or are you asking for the report to be made public?
No, well, if it's shared with the members of the committee, is it shared in a closed meeting or an open meeting?
I've just meant circulate via email. Did you want to discuss it at the committee? Or
No, it was just, what did we actually do? If somebody says to me, what did we do with all those Fire Smart monies?
do you have any objection to sharing the final report by email with the committee members?
No, I can either share the final report or I can just do a summary of everything that was done and submit that.
Let's not make extra work for you. Just send us what's already been done.
That's what I was sort of getting at, that if we got the final report, then Tess doesn't need to,
Yeah.
report out on what was done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
send the report by email to the EPEC committee.
Yeah.
And before we go on, N3, Tess, you have requested legal counsel on the public use of private property and evacuation?
Yes, I did get some update, but it was quite vague. And what I can do is I can
You can just report that you got some input.
I got some input
Okay,
and yeah,
okay.
It's not
often there's not a clear one, but I'll summarize that for our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. For some of the NERPs in some areas, it is a concern
Yeah.
because the evacuation routes go through private property. Actually, some have been fenced. Tess and Jen know that. So give me enough update on that I could share. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else on the Fire Smart update?
Oh, somebody just did something to the camera and I can see you all now.
Sharing the projects.
I'm going to move to 5.3 external agencies roundtable. I'll start with you, Ed. I know you had something to add.
Okay. We, as most of you know, we had some issues with the insurance, which caused some confusion with the NERP community, and we had a number of people drop out. Some of these dropouts were people who use this as a good reason. They weren't really engaged in the project. But we now have 65 people, Tim Wake has done an amazing job organizing Kate's Hill. And he's brought in about 4 or 5 other new NERPs there. We are planning a get-together with the entire NERP community sometime in April or May, and I've sent out an email to the NERP community asking for items that they would like to see on the agenda, skills they would like to improve, more information they might need, et cetera, et cetera. I'll keep everyone informed on when that date is and what we're doing. Finally, we have those kiosks that we built with the community foundation money. They were built on a collaborative project or a collaborative project agreement with the Muni. And after 2 years, the Muni will be taking over maintenance. We're approaching the 2-year mark on 4 of the 5. So how should I proceed with that?
Can anyone speak to that?
Other than looking into it and coming up with those past agreements and finding out what the next steps will be.
Thank you.
I don't have that information.
Nope.
Off the top of my head.
I don't
So
either.
Tess will get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Is that it from you, Ed?
That's it.
Okay, Gail, anything from BC Ambulance that you'd like to report in?
No, I don't think so. Nothing new to report. Everything's going along fairly well.
How many staff have you got down there?
Full-time staff, we have 9. And there's one posting that's open that hasn't been filled yet, may or may not be filled, not sure. And then we have approximately 10 casual that are active.
I've got a question on this. If someone calls 911, do they have to give a street address if they don't know it? How do you do that? How do you call?
Sorry,
No, because we get
committee level discussion. Can we,
Oh,
we
thank
need
you.
to ask
Yes.
this forum?
Perfect. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah,
And I
happy
can
to-
talk offline about the answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Or
happy
okay,
to happy to discuss that later and just
Thank
if
you.
anybody,
Thank
along
you.
with things like that, that's fine.
Any other external agencies that would like to report in? Great. 5.4, council and committee update. Councilors Fast, Morse, and Saunders.
And I can pick up.
Councilor Fast.
Just as the CAO mentioned, the budget consultation is happening. So if there are people out there in the emergency response and planning community that wish to look at the budget and see what's in there and have comments and suggestions, there's going to be a whole bunch of different ways to comment. There'll be some Zoom meetings, there'll be online surveys, all kinds of things. And so everybody's invited to be involved. That's it.
Thank you. Councilor Morse, did you have any
I
update?
can't think of anything off the top of my head at this time.
No worries. Okay, 6.1, I don't think we had any new business at the beginning of the meeting. Does anyone have new business that they feel they
Oh, I
should?
do have one
Nope.
question.
5.4.
The I can't remember the term, but in the new Emergency Management Act, we have to identify someone within the First Nations who's our, I think a QB or a QEB or something like that. Have we done that?
I'll have to look into that. Sorry, what was that? How
So
did you word that?
We have to identify somebody with the First Nations that we're, now I don't know whether it's an individual or I think it's an individual, somebody that we work with in the emergency management. I'll find the reference and send it down.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in action for you, Allison. That, can you share it with the committee?
Yeah,
Okay. So that's an action for Allison. Tess can likely be the one to answer the question once we follow up. Okay.
I think if we
6.1
go back to minutes of 2 meetings ago, I asked, raise that.
Okay. Are you happy with the outcome of that, Allison? To be
Yeah.
continued? I'm gonna move on to new business. 6.1, anyone have anything to raise? Okay, information items, 7.1 strategic plan. Did anyone need to speak to that? No. Okay,
I just keep it on there, all the committee agendas to keep everyone in line with council's priorities.
thank you.
We are in the process of updating it.
7.2, regarding the gas station generator is included as an information item. Is there any need to speak to that at all, or?
Just, please, just to say thanks for the great response and the detail. It's really good to know.
Question period is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions. Hearing none. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 16th here in council chambers at 9:30. Likely. Yeah. Go ahead.
Council chambers might be not here. Might be-
Great. Might be, it's cute.
Hopefully it won't be here.
For 2 years.
Well, thank you and
Okay.
congratulations.
Oh,
for
yes.
being on the chair. role.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for your time. I think we'll go ahead and adjourn. Really appreciate everyone being here.
Good meeting. Thank you.
Thanks.
Andrea.
Thanks,
Bye.
then. Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.